just like Frankie said, that, you know, this is just information for all y'all to gather right now. It's not intended to scare anybody. You know, the market's a little bit different than it was in 08, 09. So it's just helpful information. So with that being said, during the pandemic, FHA basically started off with doing forbearance about 6 months. And then they kind of extended it a little bit to 12 months and 18 months and up to 24 months. So that's quite a bit of homes that FHA loans that were out there in the beginning. There was probably about 7 or 8 million that were in forbearance at one time. Is there that many now? No, there isn't that many now. You're probably looking at around, as of August 2nd of this year, you're probably looking at about 500,000 that are in forbearance. But the caveat to all of this is a lot of these original homeowners, what they did, or what they're trying to do, or what they're still in the process of doing, is they've managed FHAs. And I'm speaking of FHA right now because VA probably has some too. Conventional, they're a little bit more aggressive. But what they were able to do is probably put that ghost second in their loan so they don't see that. It's probably in the back of their loan that they don't see it. Where they're going to start seeing those is probably maybe at the end of 2023, maybe the beginning of 2024, when they start getting into that position. You know, keep in mind the economy drives a lot of different things, but you may start seeing that later on when they go to try to sell. And maybe they can't get enough from that property that they thought they could, okay? Because not everything lasts forever, you know. We still have a shortage of inventory. I think you've seen that, you know, the buyer pool has dropped a little bit every time there's something going out there on the, you know, that the feds have either raised the rate a little bit. It kind of slowed down those buyers. It kind of readjusted on what they can buy. There are also buyers are being a little bit more selective now. So you're not seeing a lot of them fighting. You still see maybe a couple here and there that will, and depending on the product in the area. Bobby and I were talking about this the other day. You know, he saw it in an area in the northeast, right, Bobby, where you thought there was multiple offers in those situations. So it varies from place to place, right? But you can start seeing that buyers have dropped themselves down out of that. Their little range from maybe $200 makes a difference, you know, $40,000, $50,000. So with that being said, you know, you had quite a bit of adjustment. So I'm probably seeing somewhere in the neighborhood of at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, where you start seeing stuff like that. So I'm just planting the seed right now to have these conversations with folks. Because the long and the short of it is, in 2008, there was 1.3 million people in foreclosure. And then 2009, 1.5, 2010, it was 1.6, and then it started coming back down, 11 and 12, right? So in the beginning, the latter half of 2021, there was about 65,000 folks that were still in some sort of foreclosure status, right? And what stopped a lot of this was, you know, the CDC and their moratorium of evictions. So you didn't see any evictions during that time. I'll give you a little story right now. I've been working with a lady for a little over a year, and she's been trying to sell her house. And she asked me to sell it with the tenant in there. And the tenant's been a hit and miss. The tenant started off by telling her, I want to buy the house. Then he has been making his payments. Then he stopped making payments. Then he makes payments again. So it's been going on for a little over a year, right? So she's getting frustrated. And I told her I can't do anything because the tenant, first of all, won't respond to me and won't let me have a key to the house. She's in California. She sees herself as an opportunity that she missed now. But she's in a stuck position because the tenant can't get evicted. Now it's changed a little bit. Supreme Court knocked down the CDC's moratorium, but the courts are backlogged. So the tenants that aren't paying are starting to either get evicted. Homeowners that aren't making those payments. Remember we talked that nationwide about 500,000 people out there, still haven't found a way to work it out with their lender on FHA loans. So these are people that have buried their head in the sand, nationwide. Now, locally, that's a little bit different. The numbers are skewed a little bit down, okay? But you still have folks that tend to bury their head in the sand and not want to talk to their lenders. So this is basically a conversation that you need to have with any seller that you come across. One of the things that I advocate is get a copy of that mortgage statement. If anything, just tell them you need to see it just because you don't want to transpose their numbers, their account number when you transpose that onto your form for mortgages, right? It also helps you because when you have your teller that you can talk, you can't change anything. You can talk to the title companies, talk to the lenders about certain things. It helps you with that also, but it also gives you a clue whether they're starting to fall behind or whether they are behind. You never know. I can tell you that several years ago, it hasn't happened in a while, but I have had to take over some agents' files because they didn't get a full picture of either the HOA or there was they were kind of upside down, but maybe they had a water softener. Especially right now, you have solar panels. So you got to be careful on where they're at and whether they have to bring money to the table or not. Okay, I can tell you that as of last beginning of we were talking about that number being low, 65,000 nationwide in the latter half of 2021. That practically doubled in the beginning part of 2022 up until June. Nationwide, there's been 581 filings so far. People that are in that foreclosure process nationwide. That's a huge jump. Again, you got to bring it local, and what does that affect local? That means that if you know one person, there's probably 4 now that are in that forbearance, in that filing process now. So are the numbers going up? Yeah, but they're not going as drastically as they did in 2008 because banks want to work that out. They want to try to find a way to work it out with them. Where it's going to hurt homeowners is later on down the road. That's when they're going to find that they've got, if somebody took 24 months to not pay and put that on the back of their note, you could be looking anywhere between 15 to almost 50 grand on the back. That's hidden back there that they may or may not. It may pop up.
Did you call it ghost?
I called it a ghost second because they probably signed some paperwork with HUD because these are government-backed loans, right? And FHA is a government-backed loan. So they may have a second back there that they don't have to pay, but it's still there. They know it because they worked it out with the bank. Okay, so it's not like they don't know. I'll give you, how many times have you come across something that, who did I have a conversation with the other day where they asked me a question. I think it was either a credit card or an HOA asked me a question. Well, didn't you know when you bought your house and it was 15 years ago, right? And I'm like, when I signed something 15 years ago, I'm not going to remember it right now. You don't even know it. Oh, I know what it is. It was a bank fee that I got charged for a wiring fee. And with Chase, and Chase goes, well, don't you know? I go, well, how long did I have my account open with y'all? And they were hitting me up with a $15 wire fee that I didn't even know. I just asked, what's this fee? And I negotiated everything. They go, well, didn't you know when you opened up your account? Well, when did I open my account? Well, you opened up about 12, 15 years ago. I go, oh, cool. You're expecting me to know something that I opened 12, 15 years ago? That happens to all of us. We sign something, we don't realize it. So that's why I bring this up when I mention ghosts. Yeah, they do know it. it's there, it's probably something that they don't have to pay. But when they go to sell, all of a sudden, boom. How many of you ever done like a down payment assistance program? Same thing, right? Some of them will pay it, or some of them, they have to live in the house for X amount of years, 5 or 8 years. And they don't realize it when they get into a problem or they go through a divorce. Life happens still. And then all of a sudden it's that $10,000 or $8,000 bill that they need to pay on part of their note that all of a sudden pops up during the title fee. So has that happened to you?
Yeah, it happened, yeah. Back in 2008, we purchased a house in Richmond, and it had a percent higher assistance where it was like $8,000. You had to live there like 20 years, and you didn't have to pay it back. When you sold, you did have to pay it back. And so I think it was like $8,000 that we actually got on our taxes, and we had to pay it back.
So there's different ways that they're trying to help these homeowners, right? But don't be surprised that this happens.
I think it was because we bought during that time where the market was.
Yeah, it was a tax credit. It was $8,000.
Yeah, so
And
nothing.
actually, it wasn't 20 years, it was like.
Well, I lived there.
It was, I know most of them were around 8 years,
Yeah, I thought it was
8
7.
years.
Yeah.
Some were a little bit less, but
Well,
most
because
of them.
remember right after that, they changed it, we had to pay
You
back
didn't have to
all.
pay back at all.
Yeah.
I missed that by like.
But it happens, right? Somebody wants their money back, right?
Our down payment assistance.
They all want their money back. They try to get you in, but they do want their money back.
I know we had a class one day, which brought up, and I think there were a couple of agents in here that were going through the same thing where military members had called their properties or homesteads, and then they had moved out, got stationed somewhere else, but they continued to rent here. Here County caught on, so when they got ready to sell, they wanted that homestead essentially back.
Yeah.
Would that be another something to have to double check that?
Always double check everything, you know, whether it's a homestead, whether it's a water softener, whether it's solar panels are the biggest ones right now. Solar panels are the biggest ones. So that being said, you know, filings have jumped up a good 153%, you know, from the latter part, beginning part of 2021 to the beginning part of 2022, the first 6 months. So again, is it a wave? Don't know yet, because you still have filings happening and you still have homeowners trying to work those things out with them. Okay. Any questions so far? You guys have been asking a lot of good questions. Anybody have a clue on who's leading right now on filings? What states are leading right now on filings?
Filings for what?
Filings for foreclosure.
California, New York, Illinois.
You're pretty close. You actually have 2 of them. No. The 5 that are leading right now in filings in the beginning part of 2022. And when I say beginning part of the first half of 2022, that's from January to June. Okay. So you have California that has 12,805 filings as of, you know, up to date in June. You have Florida that has 12,805, and then 11,484. Tennessee is 3rd with 10,970. Illinois is 4th with 8,411, and Ohio is coming in 5th with 6,987 filings.
See, I can see Ohio, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm surprised they're still in that position. They took a big shot when they lost all the automotive stuff many years ago. And then like Flint, Michigan had that water issue. I mean, not Michigan. But I mean, anywhere, all that Midwest area, they took bad hits.
It's on that corner.
Yeah.
In Ohio and Tennessee, those are bigger percentages of their actual like.
Yeah. Compared to their population status, that's quite a bit.
This morning on one of the best states to move to because of affordability. And you guys are last on the list.
No, but you know what though, that says something. No, because you know what's happening is in Tennessee, it's not a place where people go to work. It's not a big job market.
So
Unless you're in the entertainment business.
So the thing with Tennessee is folks live in Tennessee, but military move and work in like Kentucky. and they work north, right? Because it's within a driving distance for them to go where they need to go to, right? But here's the thing though, you got to look at things, what's happening right now and what would affect it eventually. Housing drives everything, right? We all know that. Housing drives everything. But what starts affecting that is inflation right now, right? Folks, you're starting to see a little bit more, they're having to make decisions between what bills they need to pay. They're jacking up their credit cards a little bit more. Their dollar isn't going as far. You know, it's kind of, you know, it's not a political thing, but, you know, 9.1% from 1 or 2 is a big difference, right? It means that your dollar isn't going as far. We can all see it when we go grocery shopping. Wow, that didn't cost that much. I mean, deodorant used to cost me $3.79, now it's $5.25, right? Those are all big jumps. They add up, right? So what's the next thing? Cars. Cars have been, my son's in the car business. They're selling cars like crazy right now, right? But they're also paying a high percentage for those same cars, right? They're buying them back at a huge percentage because they're able to sell those because everybody needs to get from here to there, regardless. Cars break down, that, you know, you're going to have to go somewhere, right? But these are things eventually will start hitting up the food chain. And the top of the food chain, just like the ocean, top of the food chain is the orcas, right? The sharks. Well, your house is the top of the food chain, right? Once it starts affecting whether you can make that house payment or not, because you've now jacked up your credit, you jacked up your house payment or your car payment that you can't, you're trying to survive your food bills, your credit card bills. The last thing that it's going to hit is your house and what you can afford to pay. And, you know, I had this conversation with a client yesterday. You have a lot of folks that are in 3 or 4% interest rates, right? But what did they also do when they moved up in that house? What is the first thing that they went and did?
Probably got new loans for their furniture, upgrades.
Cars, right? They were able, because the interest rates are low, right? So they were able to get that luxury car that they wanted maybe, or that truck that's eating up a lot of the gas. I know my son traded in his truck and he went and got a Subaru because he's like, man, you know, yeah, it's good now, but do I want to pay $1,100 for my truck payment or do I want to pay $500 for my car, you know? So decisions have to be made at some point, right? So all of this winds, it comes around full circle into what happens. Life happens, right? We're no longer in a single income to buy a house. I mean, what most of us know that probably 300,000 for a what 1,200 square foot house is not, it's pretty basic, right? But when you look at a payment on that, now at 4.5, 5, I don't know what Josh quoted the other day. I think he was like at, yeah, right? Because he was at like 5.5 or 6. 4.5, okay. So 4.5, 5, but not everybody's at 4.5, right? It all depends, it still depends on your credit and your debt.
Yeah, these are like 750.
Yeah. Yeah, so most of us deal with folks that are what, 640, 650? So they're going to be paying a little bit more on the top end of that, right? So they're probably going to be in the 5s, easy, 5.25, right? I have a couple clients that are in the 6s, but they still want to go and buy that house, right? When I bought my house in 2002, I was at 6.5, and that was par.
Mine was 5.23 in 2004.
Yeah, see, so now I have a,
Good.
yeah. You thought it was the best thing you had since sliced bread, right? So, you know, there's several different variables, you know, that we're talking about, but mostly what I'm here to say is have conversations now. Don't wait until the end of next year and you're like, oh man, I could have helped you out, you know? Find out what their motives are, what they're doing, and then help them with that, you know? Hey, go talk to your bank. You know, I'd love to sell your house, but maybe rents are high, you know? Is it worth getting into a rental? Is it something that you can work out?
I've been helping Fran I'm shocked at what people are paying.
For rent?
But you know, you bring up a good point, Tony, because this has happened to me a couple of times, and I've sent people to you
Yeah.
that were in trouble,
Uh-huh.
and almost all of them, it was too late. Like, they were so, by the time they reached out to me, they had already gotten their third note, whatever note, like. and the
Yeah,
second-
it's called the demand letter.
Yeah.
What they get is a demand letter, right? And here's the thing on the demand letter is that it'll say, this is attempt to collect the debt, you could be in foreclosure. You could be in foreclosure, right? So a demand letter that the bank sends out, they send out about 3 or 4 of them before they start calling and ringing and still sending them out before you start getting, a big problem. But once you start falling behind on your first payment, they start calling you up. What's going on? How's it going? Are you okay? Right? I'll give you an example. I did the forbearance because I just wanted to make sure I had a safety net. I paid my bill, paid it on time. But when the forbearance ended last September, they gave me a notice. Hey, it's ending in September, in August, it's ending in September. Made my payment in September, but they were calling me, hey, just checking to make sure. Yeah, okay. I already got wind of it. I already knew what they were going to do. They were going to call me the next 3 months after forbearance just to make sure my payments are good. Even though it's never late, they were making sure. Right? I just used it as a safety net because who knew when we first started, right? Whether I've already lived through one cycle, I know what that's like. So I took the chance and said, I'll just put it in forbearance. Now they don't count it against my credit or anything. There's 18 months, I think, around there. There's just no recording of it, right? And then after that, it's back to on time. It doesn't hurt you, it doesn't penalize you. But they called me the next consecutive 3 months, September, October, November. After November, they didn't call me anymore because they were comfortable that, hey, I'm making my payments, he's doing all right,
Did you have to pay back at that time all the interest or?
I was making my payments on time.
Oh, you still were making?
I just used it as a safety net just in case.
Those that weren't doing that, they had to pay everything.
So what are the one thing that everybody needs to have if you're a homeowner? What needs to happen? Your taxes need to get paid, right? They'll pay the taxes and they'll pay your insurance. But what they'll want back, and part of what these people are working out on, is the tax part. The principal and the interest, they can throw that at the end, right? And maybe they'll throw some of the taxes on depending on what your situation is, but they're gonna want the tax up front. So some of these folks probably have maybe your $200 or $300 or $400 more a month payment to try to make up for that tax that they didn't pay, right? So again, there's these little hidden things that they don't tell you, and maybe right when it's good, you're thinking, okay, I can do this. My job's great. I'm getting good income. I can make that extra $400 or $500 a month. But at some point, life happens. Death, divorce, relocation, loss of jobs. Those all are things that happen in life, right? So when you're going through a listing appointment, go ahead and ask those questions. It doesn't hurt to ask, You need to know, because what you don't need to have happen is you go pull the title commitment and find out there's something on there. So it's always best to ask for it now, because they're going to want a net sheet. They're going to want to know, especially now sellers are having a hard time adjusting a little bit to where they want to price their house. They're still thinking because their neighbor got 20 above that they can get priced at 20 above and get 20 above that. Were you guys in here the other day when Josh had to talk about a report that he prints out? I think he prints one out for you, right, Bobby? The CMA report. So I have a client that she's very data driven, right? And I've given her the data. She's not biting. And I'm like, come on, I had a very good offer. I told her, take it. Doesn't want to take it. She thinks her house is underpriced. because her knucklehead retired realtor neighbor told her something different. And I'm like, there's a reason why he's retired, man. He's retired, he's not in this field every day, you know? But we all have to deal with somebody, right? If it's a family member, another agent, we all have to deal with somebody. So I thought, hey, I'm gonna give her data to show her that it's starting to just dip a little bit, pay attention to what's happening. You know, the market is, you know, inflation's going up, your dollar's going down, right? Nothing. I sent her Josh's information, and Josh was on point where I had it at, and she's still not biting. So now it's to a point where this lady has closed 3 homes on me already. So obviously for me, I've done everything I can do. The only thing I have left to do is just do what she wants to do and salvage the relationship between her and I, because it's not going anywhere. She's not seeing what I'm giving her, even though I know it's the best. If y'all looked at it, you would say, man, you're on point, right? But what's more important with me is that I still have this relationship with this lady.
So you have this house on the market?
I have it on hold right now. No showings to it.
Why?
Just waiting for a better market to get them.
No, she wants me to put it, she's purchasing another home. And so she was stressed out. So
Oh, she did have it on the market.
it's still on the market, but I'm gonna have to readjust the price to it, to what she wants, when I put it back on the market. And it's probably not gonna show, and it's probably gonna sit there, and she's probably gonna end up doing something regardless. I'm just, she's fine, she's fine. She's just looking at what things are happening, right? And this goes to my question with foreclosures. You have to have a relationship with whether it's a family member, or friend, or a client that you're just meeting for the first time when you go list that property, right? You should always look at the relationship that you have with these folks, because I've learned that one person, if you take care of them and you're in this business long enough, that's good for 5 transactions in a lifetime, right? Well, she's already at 30. She wants to buy properties and invest because she's just buying her dream home. I'm just in a snag right now on one of her houses. So I'm going to salvage that relationship and let her do how she wants to do it. And she'll be fine. One way or another, she's going to be fine, right? But it's always finding out what your client's motives are, especially the ones that are behind. You really need to talk to them. You really need to help them understand whether it's, hey, let me help you talk to the bank because you're a little bit behind. Let's see what we can do to save you in your house. So look at things in a way. I can't tell you how many people I've saved from doing a short sale that they have referred me more business than actually selling their home. You know, so my point, I guess, in closing today is it's not about what's going to happen right now, because really nothing's happening right now, right? Everything's kind of stabilizing itself. It's what's going to happen in about a year from now. You know, I'm not an economist, but I can see numbers crunching and I can see things happening. You got to remember that people have pulled money out of their 401k, borrowed money from their parents. You know, somebody's going to want their money back. Mom may need that money back because she ran into a medical concern that she needs to have something back to help her out, right? Or she needs to sell her house and move in with me or Mija, right? So stay with your clients and keep that communication always open.
So Tony, how should they approach talking to which past sellers they should reach out to or talking to their past sellers about?
I would say start talking to the past sellers that you closed on within the last 3 to 4 years. Okay? Because between 2018 and 2019 is when they did that forbearance, right? So if everything was good when they bought their house in 2018, 2019 is, hey, how's it going? How's the family? How are you guys doing? How's the kids? You know, how are you and your wife doing? You know, how's life? I'm doing great. I'm just buying another house, you know, or Or, hey, I went on a vacation. How are you guys? I just wanted to check in, see how you guys were doing. Is there anything I can do for you? You know, I use that a lot. I use that. What, is there anything I can do for you? I'm not going to there to sell their house. And I have gotten more clients from that. My current ones, you know, most of y'all know that my wife calls for me, right? She can't talk real estate, but she has the gift of gab. So she talks to them, right? Frankie has given us, I think it was the magazine, the folks with the magazine. You know, anything that you do, yeah, anything that you do, whether it's sending, you know, if you have, excuse me, if you have 15 clients, you're just starting, you have 15 people that you've sold a house to, or 5, send them something once a month, and then call them once a quarter. You know, hey, just want to let you know, there's so many different things. You know, Old Republic has a newsletter that you can print out. It's got a recipe on it. People love recipes, right? You want to start talking about stuff. Hey, did you get that recipe I got? I tried it out. What'd you think about it? Oh, you know what? That's a good one. I like that. I'm going to do that for my kid's birthday party. You know, you get them to talk to them, right? That's the only way you're going to get personal information from somebody. Because, you know, I look at things as, I'm a male, so I look at things as when you sell that house or they buy that house, that's a relationship that at that point, you're fired, right? Because you don't have any interaction with them. So you basically got fired. You really want to look at it. But if you, yeah, but you're fired. They bought, you're done. But check this out. You all are good agents. Everyone here, you know, Rana, your TikTok and your videos, Bobby, I've seen Bobby do this. You know, he has a great relationship with his clients and he's got the sign going. They still remember you. And it's like a boyfriend or girlfriend that you haven't seen in a while. Hey, how's it going? And you still have those feelings, right? It's the same thing. They still know you. They still care about you. You still care about them. But how do you stay active in their life, right? Except when you're married, you can't do that, right? But, you know, the thing is, you still want to be part of their life and they still want to understand what you're doing, you know, how life is going. And they always will ask you, how's the market doing, right? So just stay with that and just keep on those relationships, because when the time comes that they need you, you want them to call you first. You don't want them to call me, you know? I appreciate the referrals. That's not what I do this for. I do this because I want them to call you. And if you can't do it and you want them, no problem, but they should be calling you, okay? Bobby and I have done business before in the past, and trust me, when they're ready to buy again, they're gonna come and see you because you're the one that helped. You know, I always have a little note, whoever I get a referral from, hey, yeah, you probably want to talk to Bobby, or you want to talk to Senator Rangel, who used to be here, or you want to talk to an agent, Princess, Catherine, you want to talk to them, you know, they'll help you out. They've got you to this point, go back and see them, you know, and they do, they go back. So, any questions? I gave you some stats. They're kind of, you know, not big numbers, but you never know who you're going to come across, especially right now when evictions start happening. Cool.
Is there a way to find a list, like, you know how you make the foreclosure list? But that's at the point when it's already at the courthouse, right? Is there a
So,
way to find
I get that question all the time. The courthouse steps, it's the first Tuesday of every month, okay? And I call it the Shark Tank. If you've ever gone to the courthouse on the first Tuesday of every month, you should go there, pull up a lawn chair and just sit and watch, okay? It's cash money only, right?
But I've noticed a lot.
Johnny on the spot cash money.
They go with money from loans too, or
Yeah, but it's guaranteed money right there on the spot, right? They're not taking a loan, they're not taking anything. It's either a certified check or it's money that's cash. right? So go there, check it out, right? Now, you're gonna know the long-term investors that go there and do that because they're gonna be off on the side. And remember, the courthouse steps, all they have to do is go. And it's not really loud. You'll see about 2 or 3 people around somebody and they're going, property 1, 2, 3, 4. They announced it. Now,
They're really bad about
to
that.
answer your question, before then, so after the first Tuesday of the month, that second week, that first week after the first Tuesday of the month, they put out a list. You can Google it.
Yeah, but it is before it hits that.
They do it on the 4th week, the 3rd week, the 2nd week, and the week before.
No, like before they're actually at the point of like.
Yeah, that they do. They revise that list every week.
Oh, I see.
So let's say, what is it, August, let me get my calendar out. Anybody know what September is? September, the first Tuesday of September is? I think it's the 6th of September, yep.
Yeah.
The 6th of September. So after that, after the 6th of September, on the 13th, that week of the 12th through the 16th, they'll send out the list, probably on that Monday, right? And then they'll update it the following Monday, the 19th. And some people come off of it, some people stay on it, but they revise that list every week after that until November 4th again comes around and it goes to the courthouse steps. So you have a chance to see that list quite a bit and send a letter to that homeowner. I don't advocate on knocking on people's doors. It's not always a good idea. It's a crazy world we live in. So send a letter. If you happen to get their number, great. There's different avenues that you can do to get numbers. I use Redex to call a neighborhood, right? So if I really want it, I've been asked by some agents, hey, can you help me find this address on a house? I'll look it up. I'll tell them, okay, here's the number and here's an email address that I have. There you go. Knock yourself out. Now whether they get a hold of them or they call, I have no problem sharing things.
Ask people search, you can do the phone number.
However works for you. But if you don't call it, then what's the point of using it, right? So if you're going to do something like that, stick with it, whether it's Fast Search, Redex, there's other programs out there, find what you're going to use. They're all costly, but you got to find out what works best for you. Cool. Any questions?
What was the numbers for the California?
12,805. Florida was at 11,484. Tennessee was at 10,970. Illinois is 8,411. And Ohio is 6,987. Those are the top 5 as of June 2022. So they are creeping up, but remember what numbers I gave you in the beginning. 2008 is 1.3, 09 is 1.5, 10 was 1.6, then it started dropping at 11, and 12 was 1 million, and then at 2013 it was 800,000. So I think you're getting closer to, at some point you're going to be in 2013 range of 800,000, between 800 and a million at some point. Which is probably kind of what happens nationwide. Cool? Anybody on the? Okay. Again, thank you very much. My office is always open in case you ever have a question. You're putting offers on short sales. I haven't seen so many of them yet. You can go to Sabre. I did a class on Sabre with 2 other agents. It's a training program on there too. So there's wealth of information anywhere. I think it was short sales and forbearance. They recorded it, so it's in Sabre. I did it with Josh Boggs and Valerie Alexander and a couple lenders.
Because I came in late, where do you find the foreclosures? Other than
You can Google it, Bear County foreclosure list, and you'll get it.
What about that?
Lineburger,
Huh?
Lineburger. Lineburger is the office that puts up the list here. And then you can like see what the maps.
Some of them you can pay for them, some of them you can do by zip code. You know, you can find any information. Some of them have the amount that they owe on it and how much their loan is. You know, so if you buy it from the county, it'll give you pretty much everything. Like their taxes, whether they paid their taxes, whether they're behind on a payment, how much they're behind, and what their current loan balance is. If they have a
And
loan.
the bank foreclosures, that's the same thing?
Yeah.
They'll be on that.
Well, the bank will only take it, they'll hire an REO agent. There's several REO agents in San Antonio that are well known for doing that. Angie Boris, I think, still does them. Again, it's a little bit more moderate, but they've developed those systems. I do short sales. The next step is REO, meaning bank-owned properties. The bank has foreclosed on them. They have turned around and cleaned up any debt. By meaning cleaned up, meaning they've filed that they're the primary lien holder. So whoever puts a lien on them is they're not going to get no money. So yeah.
And those will be put on MLS, right?
No, they'll be put on MLS as REO properties, bank-owned properties, but yeah, those are they'll go to an REO agent to put those on the market because they either have to go and clean them up, you know, they'll get it ready for the market. They're going to do a lot better than what Open Door's doing lately and Orchard. They're getting a bad rep right now.
Oh,
I was looking at new listings today, and this one from Open Door. First line is like $3,500 bonus.
I just did an Open Door one.
Less an extra credit, less this, and it's just like, they're really. Look at that.
So I was pretty aggressive with a client of mine recently. He's 21 years old. I posted it. He was 21 and bought his first house, right? He bought it by the medical center. It had some foundation issues. I'll share with you. I got 10 grand off the price to begin with. We got a foundation report. Didn't scare the kid. He still wanted to go forward with it. I warned him about it. He said, no, I still want to go do it because if I get it at a good price, I'll be okay. We got another 15 grand towards his closing costs where he can do his buy down. I'm not done yet. And then there was an HOA. They sent a letter that they needed to paint or do something on the house. HOA just sent the letter, and so I got them to write him a check outside of closing for $5,000.
and
This guy got 10 grand off the price, 15 grand. He bought down his note and then got an extra $5,000 that he's waiting for a check to come in
like Open Door or?
from Open Door.
They usually don't.
They usually deal with Tony. I try to get them as much as I can. But you know what? Here's the thing. If you go in with a plan of attack, if you know anything about Open Door right now, they're holding on to a lot of properties, right? They partnered with Zillow, I think, to try to liquidate some of them because Zillow stopped buying them. Here's a good thing and a bad thing. When the economy is doing what it's doing right now, inflation is doing what it's doing, these are investors that are losing money. They only see numbers, right? A house sitting for 76 days, 80 days and not moving, they want to know where their money's at, okay? So they would rather get some money than no money. So be aggressive with it. If you're the only player, be aggressive with it because you're never going to know unless you don't get asked. You know, my client spent $500 to get an engineer report and look what he got back. He made his money and then some. Now he knows what he's got to deal with, but that's his call, you know? He looked at it as, in the end, Tony, I'm getting a better deal. Yeah, I've got to deal with the foundation, which is gonna probably cost me about 10 grand to fix. Plumbing is probably gonna cost me another 3,500 to 4,500 to fix. I still made out better than what I would have because my payment is low, my interest rate is low. I bought down my interest rate and I'm getting another 5K. I can get my roommates to help me. He's going to college and his roommates. We can get it to pay me.
What type of loan did you say he's gonna use?
He got an FHA loan? Yeah.
So how does that work when it comes to their appraisal?
The appraisal looked at it and I couldn't tell either.
From the foundation?
I couldn't tell that there was foundation because there was nowhere on there that, you know, how you walk in and you start seeing cracks or even how they patched up the work. I couldn't see any of that. You know, I looked at it and I thought, I saw the engineer report. I saw the inspection report and I don't go to inspections. My clients go to them. I looked at it, used Power Eye. They went and did it. He said, you know what, I kind of feel something. I can't see it. Just only one door. It's not closing all the way, you know, but you might want to get it checked out. You got it checked out? And it was a 4-inch difference towards the front. But it's all dry as hell too. You know, we haven't had any rain. So, and it sits on a little slope. So he said, I can deal with it. I can fix it. I can get it fixed. I can do it. I'm saving money and at what I'm buying it, Tony, I'm going to be making money off of this in about 4 or 5 years. So, and
Where is that?
it's right here up Babcock by the medical center. And so he looked at it, and it's a fairly new house too. When I say new, it's within 15 years, 16 years. But that's how he looked at it. And he looked at it as I'm starting out, I'm going to buy more. What I have to pay for this to get it back up, 15 grand to get it back up, is nothing compared to what it's going to get me. And you got me a hell of a deal, so I'm okay with it. I said, all right, your call. So yes, be aggressive with them. You never know what you're going to
They're
get.
usually overpriced too. They keep coming down.
Who do they have to answer to? Everybody has to answer to somebody, right? Investor wants to know where their money's at. Okay, we kind of went off topic a little bit, but you know, hey,
Thank you.
let me know what I can do for you. You're welcome.
Bye.